The Kentucky Theater has been home to the Lexington area since 1922. The theater was used as an entertainment place for the members of the community to come and watch the popular movie of the week. In the 1950s, the Kentucky Theater was one of the first air-conditioned public buildings in the town of Lexington. When the summers were hot, people would take their family and friends and watch a movie at the theater. With the theater attracting so many people, there was always the issue of who exactly was allowed to buy tickets. This is where the racial aspects of the Kentucky Theater first came about. Though back when segregation was the norm of society, the racial aspects associated with the theater were not as prominent as they are in today's society. Before explaining the modern-day theater, there must be knowledge about the theater in the Kentucky area from earlier decades. The book Actors, Audience, and Historic Theaters of Kentucky by Marilyn Castro gave an informative explanation of how the theater was different in the early 19th century. She states, shifts in theater design were partially the result of alterations in audience expectations and in the types of performances offered. For the most part, when Black Americans were portrayed, it was not as normal people, but as buffoons. The 1840s saw the rise of minstrelsy, in which mostly white but almost black performers sang and danced while made up in blackface. This is achieved by smearing coal on the face. She also says the players entertained the audience using comic skits, parodies of popular plays and musicals, and general buffoonery and slapstick comedy, all with heavy utilization of racial stereotyping and racist themes. From knowing background information about how racism played a role in the theater in the 19th and 20th century, we are able to connect it to the modern Kentucky Theater. On the main website, www.kentuckytheater.com, they describe the details of the atmosphere of the building. The luxury, comfort, and elegance of hand-painted murals, plush carpeting, indirect lighting, and marble floors is to be expected when walking into the theater. Some movies played at the theater now include Eye in the Sky, Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, Rocky Horror Picture Show, and many more. The Kentucky Theater used to have two sections of seating. The lower section was for Caucasians, and the higher balcony was made for African Americans when it was first built. The building did not take out the balcony until the late 1980s when there was damage done to the building from a neighboring fire. Due to how late it took the theater to take away the segregation balcony, it is known for racial accusations of not wanting African Americans to attend the theater. Also, the theater made sure that during their renovation, they kept the older cultural architecture. This can be seen as them keeping the old atmosphere and not wanting to change with modern times. From the racial aspects connected with the Kentucky Theater from the balcony, this can be related to the amount of African Americans who attend the theater today. In 2015, the theater showed the opening of Star Wars Episode 7: The Force Awakens, where it was a sold-out crowd of about 800 people. This picture was taken at the event, and if one is to analyze the picture, there is one element that stands out. There is not a single African American in the audience, which is not usual for huge events as such. Based on the information we know about the racist background of the theater, one is able to say how the lack of African Americans must be an effect from the history of the theater. This can also be shown through this picture because the same problem is occurring. There are elderly couples, young kids running about, young couples, groups of families, and even people who came to the theater alone. But there is a lack of African American people. This is not a special event, but just a regular movie playing, and there is still the majority of Caucasians. The theater knows there is an issue with their history, and therefore has done certain things in order to move away from the accusations. One way it can be assumed that the theater is trying to get on better terms with the Black community can be from the Lincoln mural downtown. The mural started being created on November 15th and continued until the 17th in 2013. They made an event out of the creation by making it a festival with food, music, and live talks for people to sit and watch. The mural is located on the back of the Kentucky Theater building. When one thinks of Abraham Lincoln, usually the first thought is related to how he felt about slavery and what he did to try to end it in the United States. The article, Father Abraham, Lincoln's Relentless Struggle to End Slavery, by Brian Carrick, states Lincoln had to consider not only the political impact in the slave-holding border states, but also the possible financial impact on the officers of his own army if the proclamation was overturned in the courts. He was quiet on the issue of slavery, but within him were tremendous reserves of audacity and a powerful capacity for outrage. These qualities emerged full-blown after many years of reflection. One of Abraham Lincoln's most famous quotes states, "I do order and declare that all persons held as slaves within said designated states and parts of states are and henceforward shall be free." Because Lincoln was seen as a political figure who was against slavery, this can be tied into why the Kentucky Theater wanted their building to have the mural designed on. The theater is seen as trying to appeal to the black community by showing them how they support black history, such as that involving Lincoln. From old times and now, there is a lot to speculate about what exactly is the Kentucky Theater's view on racism. But the importance isn't so much of what I think, but of what you think as a member of this community.